All right. Well, welcome back to the Bigfoot Society podcast. You may be noticing that this is not a live show like it used to be, but that's all right. We're going back to the pre-recorded format. Allows me to focus a little bit more on the interview itself. Also, another thing we're bringing back too, you may remember, is there used to be the Bigfoot Society After Dark portion of the show where the guest stays for a little bit longer after the main podcast. So we are bringing that back. So if you were wanting to hear our guest a little bit more after the main interview, we will be having that up on the Patreon. You can help support the podcast. It's patreon.com/ the Bigfoot Society. And you can hear that extra interview from now on. So pretty exciting there as well. Also, definitely check that out. We have a special design collab that we did with Keep On Creeping On, and some special merch t-shirt, tote bag sticker. You can get that if you're a subscriber to the Patreon, and gets sent to you from Patreon after 3 months. So pretty cool thing. The link will be in the show notes for that too. But excited for this interview we have tonight. We have a good friend, Jessi from Hellbent Holler, and we're going to go ahead and bring her on. And yeah, we will start from there. So, hello, Jessi. How's it going?
Hi, Jeremiah. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. And I forgot to ask, this is terrible of me, but do you prefer to go by Jessi?
Yeah, I just go by
Okay,
Jessi.
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. So you have a very interesting backstory, and I'll kind of do we'll start with a shortened version of that. So you started out down in New Orleans in Louisiana, in all sorts of high strangeness down there. And then you made your way up to the Appalachian area
Right.
with your partner, Joe, who's an awesome guy as well. He's very cool. And now you're doing a thing called Hellbent Holler, which is it's so cool. You're out in the woods, you're going after things like Dogman, but it's also got a survival aspect to it too. You're showing off your gear, and it's such a really cool thing. And I'm curious to know, like, how did the inspiration for Hellbent Holler come about? What was that?
So I'm originally from Western North Carolina. I'm from Haywood County, North Carolina, outside of the Pisgah National Forest. And a lot of my family has always been involved in sort of like Grady witchery, and it's always been kind of like the paranormal and the supernatural has always been a part of my life and always been an aspect of my life. And it just was commonplace with our family and everything like that. When I went to college, I went to New Orleans, and I was in New Orleans for about 10 years. And I always say that I spent more time in cemeteries than I spent at home. So,
That's funny.
There's all that history and all the really weird, creepy stuff and supernatural and everything. Ghosts and vampires and legends of all kinds of Rougarou and all these things down in New Orleans. So that was a big part of my life there. And, I knew a lot of Santerean priests and voodoo priestesses and everything like that. And I kind of ran with a strange crowd as it was. So when we decided to leave New Orleans and move back up to the Southern Appalachian region, it kind of naturally flowed that way. It was something that's always been a part of my life, the paranormal. And we just started hiking a lot and camping a lot. We've always both been into survival and, prepper kind of stuff and survivalism and guns and knives. And so Hellbent Holler was just a way that we kind of put everything and all of our interests together. And because they interconnect very, very well. Because if you're out in the woods doing cryptid research but I do all kinds of paranormal research, but it's always in the woods. And so I don't think anything is limited to say this is, just a cryptid or something like that. I think these woods can be haunted too. So
interesting.
Hellbent Holler was a way for me to kind of put everything together that were my interests and my passions and things that I was really into, and actually go out and hunt for these things and investigate these things and kind of make a thing of it. And we started filming, and the rest is history.
It's
We've been
really
rolling from
cool.
there.
We want to definitely mention that you guys have an awesome YouTube channel where the viewers can actually follow along with you as you're going out to these looking for the Dogman and things like that. And it's very cool, very well done. It's definitely on my subscribe list. Everyone should check that out. I had a question come in over Instagram from what Rev_werewolf, who's a cool dude. But he's curious, where are there any goals you can share that Hellbent Holler has for this 2022 year? Anything cool you guys have planned that you're trying to pull off? He's trying to get some stuff out of you.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
of course he is. Yes, actually, we have a few things planned. So what we've been doing is we have a research area that we've been going to. We're there every week. We are in our research area every week. And that's what we do on an ongoing basis because it's a very, very active area. And a lot of my videos actually come from that area. And it's almost it's over 17,000 acres, and it's very remote. And it's on the dark skies map and everything. It's a very strange place, and it's been kind of an ongoing project for us to be doing that. So we do that every week. We're there. But we are also planning on some other excursions. We're making a return to the Land Between the Lakes very soon. So we are really, really looking forward to that. I don't know if you saw the videos that I put out from our first excursion to the Land Between the Lakes, but we actually got a really, really amazing thermal image while we were there.
There's some cool stuff. Yeah.
And we've actually done a lot more research since we've gotten home, and we're like, we've got to go back. We absolutely have to go back. The Land Between the Lakes is such a strangely haunting place. It kind of doesn't want you to leave. We were there for 4 or 5 days, and it was just, we were just both like, I don't want to go home. I don't want to go home. I don't want to leave. It was just, we were like, we have to come back. So we're going to be making that trip very soon. I am not going to say exactly when we're going to be there, but I will let everybody know when we get back.
That's awesome.
So there will be another Hellbent Holler Land Between the Lakes excursion.
Oh, very cool.
In addition to that, I've got a few abandoned ghost towns that are in very, very remote parts of the Appalachian Mountains that we are going to. We are looking at some caves. We are looking at a bunch of different things. I'm looking to do a series on Cherokee little people. So that should be fun. Yeah. So
that's cool.
Yeah. So I've got a lot of things that are kind of in the works. We're in the planning stages of a few things. But yeah, we're definitely going to be hitting the road a lot more this year and continuing to do our research that way.
Oh man, that is super, super exciting. Do you mind if we talk about Land Between the Lakes for a little bit?
Absolutely.
I feel like, so this is where this podcast is tricky because this particular one is like all cryptozoology, right? So like you have some people that are super into Bigfoot, and you have some people that are like super into the Van Meter Visitor, and then some people that are super into Dogman. But there's a chance that there could be people that are like, Land Between the Lakes, that sounds kind of like some Lord of the Rings thing. Like, I don't get what's like, do you mind if we kind of chat about like, so what's the big deal with the Land Between the Lakes? Like, where is it? And like, what exactly are we looking at there?
So the Land Between the Lakes is it's a national recreation area. It used to be the land between the rivers, and the northern part of it is in Kentucky, and the southern part of it is in Tennessee. And it's about 42 miles long.
Wow.
And it used to be 2 rivers on either side of it. There used to be homes. There's over 100 cemeteries, and there's cemeteries that they have been lost to time and everything like that. All of these people that live there were taken off the land and kicked off to the land because they wanted to turn it into a national recreation area.
Really?
Yes, the Tennessee Valley Authority took the land and kicked all these people out of their homes and out of their communities, and they turned it into a national recreation area. So it's a very strange, geographically it's strange because it's just this long peninsula with these 2 lakes on either side, and then it's got these bays, and that's the only place where you're going to find people really, is these bays. So you've got a main road that goes down the center, and that's the trace, and then you have roads that go off in each direction all the way down the trace. But they have visitor centers and all that stuff, you know, park rangers, that kind of thing. Like
okay.
So the cryptid connection with the land between the lakes is allegedly in the early 80s, there was an attack by a dogman on a family that was in an RV in one of the camping areas. So this is a story that's kind of been circulating for a while. It's been kind of a big deal for a while in like the cryptid dogman community, and, you know, people who know about that and the lore and the history and everything.
Exactly.
So recently, the Cryptid Studies Institute guys, Elijah Henderson, he had a gentleman on that claimed to be a survivor of the LBL attack. He says his name is Roger, and he gave this account that he survived the attack, and you know, everything he mentioned was very accurate when it came to the lay of the land and everything like that. Because you hear about land between the lakes a lot, and you really can't appreciate what the terrain looks like and what these things actually are until you go there. And that's why we went. We wanted to see it for ourselves, and it was kind of a lark because I didn't believe anything like Dogman could exist. I thought that was a very kind of a silly concept, and
okay.
So we kind of went as a lark, and we went to check it out, and we got there, and things really changed when we got there because sorry, I am also I'm getting over that sickness that everybody's got too.
Hooray!
I know. Yeah, let's get it out of the way so I can
let's do it. Yeah, right? Exactly.
But it was just nice to go there and get a lay of the land and really see what the terrain looks like. Like you hear about the bunkers and all that stuff. So we went and found all that. That's all in my video and everything like that. So we checked it out and did all that stuff. So we wanted to go see if there's any like validity to these claims that this occurred. So we looked at a bunch of old maps and figured out where this campground would have been based on these accounts, these old maps, all this other stuff. And it looks like there was like a campground that was purposely destroyed.
Really?
Yeah. Sorry.
You're good.
I know. It's going to be like this all day. This has been me for the past like 4 days.
Man.
Yeah, I know. But so it looks like it was a campground that was like purposely destroyed. So it looks like everything got bulldozed and everything just got like just mowed over, and they cut off all the power poles and everything. So it looks like they were trying to cover something up in a way.
Yeah, totally. Oh, that's so weird. I just can't get, I didn't know that fact where it's like they kicked people out of their homes and towns just to make just a recreation area. Like, that's nuts. That's like heartless, you know, like people are living there.
That happens all the time. I mean, you know, eminent domain is
that's true. That's true. I mean, Iowa farmers know about that. Yeah.
Right. I mean, when they started the national parks and everything like that, they kicked a lot of people off of that land. Great Smoky Mountain National Park is, you know, there's all these abandoned like ghost towns that are just nestled in the mountains. We've been to a couple of them, but there's just whole communities that have been just, you know, uprooted and kicked off the land for these parks and everything. I mean, it's I guess it's for the greater good, you know, because these are national treasures, you know, and we have to preserve this land, but it does, you know, it is a terrible thing that they had to do that to those people.
So, you know, it is, but at the, like, one side of me wants to be like, yeah, like national parks are beautiful, and I'm so glad that they're around. But like, if I was living in one as a person and like someone kicked me out, I mean, geez, I'd be a little ticked off. But I guess that's the way that the federal government decided to do things. So cool,
So
guys.
that's the way that the cookie crumbles on that one.
Hooray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like when you kick people off of their land like that, like even with you know, Native American removal or anything
Oh,
like
yeah,
that,
sure.
there's so much bitterness and just, you know, anger about that. These people have been taken out of their homes, and
Mm.
their family land has been taken from them, their heritage, their everything has been taken from them. So I think a lot of that seeps into the land and kind of creates this. I'm so sorry.
You're good.
Give me a break 1 second. Yeah, this COVID is terrible.
It's a wild ride from what I've heard, and it's definitely it's no joke.
Oh,
If
I know.
anyone has it that's listening to this, we are sending good vibes to
I
you
know,
for
and I'm
sure.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm struggling through this
Oh,
because
you're
it's
good. You're
I
good.
I I talk all day and then I'm just like, yeah. But
Yep.
yeah, when we were at the Land Between the Lakes, we actually went to the wildlife center, and there was a young lady in the gift shop that told us that it seems like the bitterness has sunk into the land where all these people
Ooh.
were kicked off of this land and they had all of this taken from them. And so I don't know if that contributes kind of to this dogman phenomenon, if there's just anger and bitterness and everything like that, if that kind of like brings it up and like feeds it and fuels it, you know.
Mm.
It's kind of an interesting concept that these very traumatic events for people would feed into a supernatural event, you know?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Um, and that's one of the weirdest things is when you're walking through the woods and you stumble upon an old homestead or uh I grew up in New England, and you'd be walking in the woods and you'd stumble upon an old graveyard. And just the weirdest thing for sure. You mentioned earlier that when you first started looking into Dogman, you weren't really convinced that it was a thing. Was there an event or a situation where you're like, okay, maybe this is a little bit more real than I was thinking before? Is there anything that like turned you to actually believing in it, or?
Probably my thermal image that we captured. It's
Yeah,
if you look at it, it's at
it's
the end
good.
of my first LBL video is and I'm not going to tell you what to think about it or what to see in it or anything like that. Just look at it and, you know, interpret what you want from it. What do you see? I know that I see what appears to be a large canine like head. That's what appearing over
Yeah.
from a ditch at
Oh
us.
yeah.
So um, that was really scary. It was really, really shocking and scary. And um, it kind of tore down all the walls all at once.
Mm.
It was really scary, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, that's a paradigm change in the way you're thinking for sure, to like see something like that and then you're like, "Oh man, I got to like rethink everything potentially about my life," you know. I'm reading through your bio that Joe was awesome enough to send over. There were some really interesting things in there, and there's few lines that stick out, and it's like something to the effect of you're when you're looking for cryptids, trying to see if there's uh, parallels in like Native American legends. Did I get that right?
Yes,
I think
yes.
that's very interesting. Can you go into how you approach that and what kind of things you do there?
So we use a lot of like our source material generally for this is James Mooney's history of the Cherokee. And we do a lot of like we look into Cherokee legends or Catawba legends. That's the main tribes that are around this area. But what we do is we look into these legends like that. Obviously, Native Americans, they were here long before we were.
Totally.
They've had experience with these things. There obviously something was going on for these legends to come about, even if they're cautionary, just cautionary tales. Um, something had to spark this and cause it to become part of their core lore. So there has to be at least some grain of truth into some of these. And almost every tribe and every continent has Sasquatch legends,
Oh yeah.
And so it's not as if they didn't know better, or they were mistaken these things for other things. These things are actually, they knew the land better than we do. They knew the environment better than we do. And I think it's very wrong-headed to think that, oh, well, they just, they're misinterpreting this is a bear when it's actually, you know what I'm saying? They mistaking a bear for a Sasquatch or something like that. So I think it's really, really a good spot to start with is these legends, and go from there and say, all right, so what could be in this area? What is something that these First Nations peoples experienced, and what did they see? What did they encounter? So I think that's a really good jumping off point for trying to explain all of the strange phenomena in these areas.
That would actually make a really interesting book. Yeah, I'm just saying, but yeah. I would totally read it, but I might check out the history of the Cherokee for sure. That sounds like an interesting book. Did you find in your research that there were parallels to the Dogman cryptid, or is it mainly like Sasquatch parallels that you were seeing?
There's not really a lot of like Dogman related type things in Cherokee lore. There are a lot of like legends of mountain witches and demons and things like that. And we're actually trying to go into that direction too with a couple of things. There's an area where there's the legend of Spearfinger. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Spearfinger?
Yeah.
No, that definitely does not sound like my kind of thing. This sounds kind of spooky.
It is. So yeah. She's a witch that lives in the mountains and has like a long stony finger on her right hand, and she uses it to cut out your liver, and she eats your liver and steals children. So there's this legend of Spearfinger, and they would tell children this, legend: don't stray too far from your family, or Spearfinger will cut out your liver and, take you and kill you. So yikes. I've actually figured out the area that is supposed to be the area in which this legend originated.
Really?
And it's in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park.
Oh, wow.
So we have a trip upcoming probably in the spring or the summer where we are going to go up and go deep into this area, because it's going to be like a 10 to 15 mile hike just to get to this area, because it's one of the most remote parts of the park. And it turns out that there's actually an abandoned settlement up there.
Oh man!
From the mid 1800s. So there's a lot of cemeteries and things up there too. So it's kind of like a little bit of everything with that. But we jumped off with the Spearfinger legend, all right, and figured out, all right, this is the area based on all the legends, all the descriptors, the mountain, this mountain, that mountain, this and that. And it turns out that there's like abandoned settlements out there. So it's going to be a lot of little elements of a little bit of everything with that. So
that is so cool. And it's crazy how, like, I love how you can when you can get legends to link up with, like, that's where it is, that's where it happened, and it's real life. Like, that just blows my mind. That's really, really cool stuff. Question about, so we're gonna switch gears a little bit, talking about Hellbent Holler, and specifically you and your partner Joe. So it's a team, and you guys are awesome. Like, watching the videos, it's like, if I was to go out into the woods and really go, into that area, I would totally want you guys with me, because, like, you guys are prepared. You got the knives, you got the trucks, you're good to go. And like, that is amazing. I'm curious. So you're going out, and like, you definitely are taking things seriously. You can tell that in the videos. Have you found that, like, do you have a part that is that you're more responsible for, and like maybe Joe has a part that he's more responsible? Do you guys have different strengths when it comes to Hellbent Holler, or do you kind of just, you're pretty equal
It's
in
really
regards?
it's really important that you have a baseline of survival skill. That's just we both have to have that baseline of survival skill. If I was a wilting little flower out in the woods and he was
Right.
constantly having to watch my back and take care of me and all this other stuff, we wouldn't get anywhere with anything. So it's important that it's important that both of us have at least a baseline of survival skill and capability in the woods, the ability to move through the woods successfully. And then on top of that, we throw in that we're doing this in the middle of the night. We're doing this while filming it.
Yeah.
So, and carrying all of this equipment. So there's a lot of plates spinning with that. So just having a basic knowledge of how to move through the woods and survive in the woods and how to conduct yourself in the woods is paramount to even getting out the door with this, you know, because there's so many other elements involved in what we do that we have to have that baseline. But I do most of the filming for everything.
Okay.
So he does take up more of a role of kind of watching my back, but we work very well as a partnership that we both watch each other's back. We have our own system of communication that if he tells me to do something a certain way, I do it. If I tell him to do something a certain way, he does it.
Yeah.
And I think that's that level of communication and trust that really makes it successful when we go out into the woods. But it takes time to develop that with somebody.
Sure.
Joe and I have been together for 8 years now. So we've developed all of this over time, and just being out in the woods and, you know, getting out there and just doing the thing is how it develops. Our kit has evolved as well as our skill set has evolved. And I think that's going to continue to evolve as we do this throughout the years.
I feel like a few people would be interested. And could you recommend, let's say if someone is like wanting to go out and like start getting out in the woods and, you know, checking stuff out, you know, they're like, I wish I could do that. You know, literally it's a thing they need to be prepared. What's a good, like beginners, what does a beginner need to make sure that they have for going out in the woods like you guys do? Or do they really, really need to be prepared with a ton of different equipment?
You don't need to come out with everything that we do. We're also gear nuts. We love getting this stuff and playing with this stuff too. So that's part of our shtick as well. But I actually presented at Wild and Weird Con in yeah. So and that was the focus of my presentation at Wild and Weird Con was, what do you need to do to get out in the woods and get started in this kind of research?
Okay.
So basically, just there's a couple of different approaches you can take. You can really, really plan it out and do all this research like we do and all this stuff, or you can just go out into the woods. I think it's really important that more people get out into the woods and do field research. You know, sitting behind a computer and researching and reading about this is very important. But there is no substitute for being in the woods and actually doing the work and boots on the ground, investigating and looking. And the more people we have looking into these phenomenon, I think the closer we get to getting some kind of answer or more information, or maybe even just opening up a more Pandora's box of more questions. But I think that's half the fun of why we do it. But I think just getting started and just know your limitations and just get started. And you can get a really cheap camera to go out with and just start. You know, we bought all of our equipment one piece at a time. We buy everything ourselves. We do everything one piece at a time. And we just built a kit over, you know, years. And it's just developed and evolved as we've gone through. But well, like I said, when we started out with just a knockoff GoPro. I think it's at a Casso Action Cam. Okay. And that's it. Like, we had our hiking stuff. We already hiked and stuff like that. But we just basic hiking equipment. And then one little camera is all we had. And it developed from there. But I think the most important thing you can do is just get started. And I think that's always, it doesn't matter if it's cryptid research or whatever you're doing, the hardest step is always that first step of getting started, and just getting yourself more comfortable with being uncomfortable and getting out into the woods and doing this kind of research. Once you start having weird things happen, it starts to get addictive and you're going to keep doing it. I can't imagine not doing this kind of work. I can't imagine not doing this kind of research. It's absolutely addictive. The adrenaline rush of being in the middle of the woods, so, miles away from civilization, and you're in possibly a dangerous situation. There could be something out there that could kill you. And it's just you and your partner in the woods in the middle of the night, and it's dark, it's scary. That is a fun time for me. That is like I'm having the time of my life when I do this. So I think that if more people got involved doing it, they would start to have that thrill and that rush too. I think more people would really enjoy doing this. But like I said, the first step is just to get out there, just go out into the woods and just start acclimating yourself and learning how to be in the woods successfully.
I think that's a really important point, is making sure of that you're aware of what your limitations are. Maybe a flashlight, maybe a first aid kit, maybe stuff like that. Maybe be aware of just like, it's like you're going hiking, but being aware of, like, if there's poisonous snakes in there, stuff like that. And just be aware,
There's places, REI does classes on, basic hiking and everything like that. There, you have unlimited resources at your fingertips. I always do suggest, though, that you get a personal locator beacon. I use a Garmin InReach Mini, because if something were to happen, I would take that out, and it's a satellite locator. Wow. It's a messenger and everything like that. I let somebody know where I'm at. And it pings it on a satellite and on a map and everything. So we have people who always know where we're at all times, because this is dangerous, and being in the woods is dangerous. It really is. So if you get lost or injured or anything like that, that help is just a button push away if it's a real emergency. So I do suggest that it's one of the pieces of equipment that I always suggest people get early on. Just because if you are not alive to do cryptid research, you are not doing cryptid research. So you have to take care of your safety first, and just to make sure that you can go out and do this kind of work another day. So I always suggest that people get a personal locator beacon.
That's really good to know about, actually, because like I used to go hiking a lot with my dad on the Appalachian Trail, but this is like, oh man, we're talking like 25 years ago, before personal locator beacons, I'm pretty sure. Or if they were around, you had to pay a lot of money. But good to know about those for sure. Has there ever been a time when you and Joe are out doing your investigations and you got freaked out? You looked at each other and we're like, oh, we're in for it now. Has there ever been a pretty crazy adventure like that's happened to you? Or?
Those kind of moments happen. We for a long time, we would always pride ourselves. I think that there's a video out there that I did where we were like, we're not those type of people that stuff starts going crazy, we're going to turn tail and run. Until that happened, we've had instances where it's all right, we can handle kind of like physical threat, so if it's something that is scary, if there's like something moving through the woods and it's kind of a physical threat, we always go armed every time we go out there. So it's like, okay, if it bleeds, you can kill it,
Nice. Come on, do it.
If you are dealing with like a physical threat, that's one thing. But then when we started encountering really, really terrifying, supernatural, disembodied kind of things, that's when it starts to get really, really scary. I have a video on my channel where we set up camp and had a camp going and everything like that. and we hear this crazy wail. But we didn't get it on camera because we turned our camera, and this is a big life lesson for us. Is to always be filming, because we turned our camera off and did not get this insane wail. And then after that happened, you know, we found what looked to be symbols behind our tent, and then there was a pile of mud, and then a handprint in the mud, and it was behind our tent. And we're like, okay, this is some, and like, of course, everybody that sees it, they're like, this is some Blair Witch stuff, you know?
Yeah.
But it seems like we were dealing with some sort of, I don't know if it was a supernatural or a witchcraft or what we were dealing with, but whatever this thing was that did this, because there was mud with a handprint and all these stick symbols all the way around it. And it was right behind our tent. Like, and we're in a very, very, very remote area, very remote. There's not anybody out there hoaxing us or just randomly waiting out there for two people to be out there, you know, doing paranormal investigating in the woods to show up. I mean, it's just, the likelihood of that happening was absolutely nil.
Oh, sure.
But that scared us. I mean, that absolutely scared us. And we're like, we can't sleep here, you know? I mean, would you be able to sleep in a tent after you found like handprints and symbols and stuff like that behind your tent?
No way. No, it's just the fact that like, and you guys are so remote, and then it's like you're not expecting to see anyone there, and when you do, or you see evidence of someone else, that is one of the scariest things, I think, ever. I don't even want to get into it. I'm a wuss, but I totally agree with you, because I've had similar experiences when I was in high school in Western Mass, and it's like, oh my goodness. Yeah, you gotta be careful. You never know what kind of weirdos you're gonna run into out in the woods.
I mean, usually we're the weirdos. So,
yeah, right.
But that's the thing, is we don't know what's going on. We don't know if these are other people or if this is something else. I mean, obviously we're out there looking for weird stuff and strange occurrences and paranormal activity or anything like that. And it seems like sometimes we really, really find it. And that's the thing, is this has happened to us a couple of times where something really scary will happen, whether it be disembodied lights or something like that. And we will, you know, we're up there late at night, and we've tried to camp, and we're like, we can't sleep. There's no way we're going to go crawl into a tent and fall asleep right now, because we just don't know what we're dealing with. And then this is in that research area that I was telling you about that we go to every week. We don't know what we're dealing with up there, because we've encountered a lot of really strange stuff there's occult activity up there. We've found footprints that appear to be Sasquatch in nature. We found large canine footprints. We've heard insane things. We've seen disembodied lights. We've had that symbol situation happen up there. And then, you know, it's all of these things, and it's so strange because it's like almost like it's a potpourri of paranormal. It's like everything.
Oh,
you know,
yeah, exactly. It smells great.
So
potpourri's fun,
but it's just like it's like everything, and you don't know what it is, and it's so there's times where we were just like, throw it all in the truck. We're getting out of here. You know?
Yeah, right. Like. I don't think we can be any more lucky. We got to get out of here.
Yeah,
I totally get that. I'm sure there's someone listening right now where they're like, hey, I want an area like that. That's pretty cool. Like, and I don't want you to like, don't give away anything, but how do you like stumble upon like an amazing area? And you said it was like 17, like it's huge, right?
Yeah.
Like, how do you stumble upon, like, if someone's like in another state and they're like, I want to find a cool area, like, what's your tricks?
I got some tips and tricks.
All right.
So one thing that we like to do is, you know, you can go through and you can use like the BFRO system and get all these reports and things like that. That's a great starting point, sure. But we kind of look at non-traditional sources a lot of the time. We go on to bouldering forums or outdoor forums, fishermen, hiking, anything like that. And people will offhandedly make remarks about weird things happening in the woods. Every now and then you'll find a post about some guy, a fisherman, who's like, yeah, I was fishing and then there was this thing staring at me from the woods and all this other stuff.
Weird.
So going to non-traditional sources and kind of gleaning all the little bits and pieces of maybe possible paranormal activity is a good way to kind of find areas that maybe somebody else hasn't checked out before, because, you know, you can always Google, you know, haunted forest, blah, 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 near me or whatever,
True.
You know, and that's very, you know, everybody can do that. But if you kind of dig a little deeper and you find areas that seem to have strange activity or anything like that, but nobody's looked in these non-traditional sources, then you can find an area that hasn't been, you know, overly investigated or anything like that.
That's a really good tip.
Yeah. And like with the Land Between the Lakes, when we were doing research for that, we were just reading we were on websites for it, like news websites for it, and just going to the comments section. And it's crazy what kind of things people would say in the comments section about weird experiences or weird encounters or anything like that, because people will just talk about it on the comments section. And so that's a good way to kind of get a little more information, and kind of get these little leads that take you in different directions that maybe somebody else wouldn't be able to be taken in that direction, because they don't think in these non-traditional sources.
Oh, that is so smart. And I'm gonna add something to that as well. It's pretty much the same idea, but like I've noticed I'm starting to build a presence on TikTok. I don't know have you ever got like, okay, so yeah, at first you want to be like, haha, TikTok, it's stupid people dancing or whatever, but it's a crazy place for niche audiences, and there's a crazy cryptid audience on TikTok. And so like I'll make a video about Bigfoot or something, and like the crazy comments that will come in, like, oh, I was in Maine and like this Bigfoot was attacking and like people will be like, I got this story. And I'm like, send me an email, and like they'll just send this crazy report that they've never sent to like BFRO or anything.
Oh yeah.
It's wild. So yeah, just you got to be look in the places where people aren't looking. You hit it on the head. So,
and a lot of people don't think to you know, a lot of people don't, like normal people don't automatically go, I better report this to the BFRO, you know. You know, that's not like the thought process of normal people. They're like, okay, that was weird, you know, and they'll like, maybe try to reason their way through what happened or anything like that, but then they'll just mention it, and then people start talking about it like, yeah, I had this kind of experience there too, blah blah blah, you know. And they'll confide in each other, and then you can find that in these forums. And so yeah, we've actually gotten a lot of really great leads from doing that.
That's such a good idea. The other thing that was pointed out in your bio is that you have been involved with looking for Bigfoot in northern Georgia. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it's very interesting. So what kind of things are you finding to do with Bigfoot in Georgia? I've heard it's a very squatchy state once you get into it, but like, what kind of things did you find?
Northern Georgia is, it's very strange, because it's very, very, you know, when you think about Georgia, you don't really think about like heavily wooded or mountainous areas. But we operate in North Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina, and upstate of South Carolina.
Okay.
This is the Southern Appalachian region. It's not as rugged as like West Virginia or something like that, but it is still a mountainous area. There's plenty of areas that are very remote. There's plenty of areas that are just untapped. And North Georgia is kind of a weird one. It's an easy drive for us to get over to where we go and research over in North Georgia. And we've found a lot of very strange prints when we go over there. And we've come across all kinds of like old settlements and stuff like that, old chimneys and things like that. But I found a four-toed track couple years ago in North Georgia, and that was like my first casting was a four-toed track in North Georgia. But it's you know, it's like, I don't know, it's like anywhere else. You have to find these remote areas that could sustain a Sasquatch or anything like that. So we're losing vast swaths of forest all the time. And North Georgia actually has a really, really nice bunch of wildlife management areas and everything like that. So that kind of became one of the focuses of our research.
Is there you kind of have like a research area bucket list where you always wish, like, it looks like you focus more in like the Southeast. Is there another area that you wish you could always, like, if I could travel anywhere, I'd love to go research in that area for Bigfoot or for Dogman or anything like that?
And we focus on the Southeast because it is a matter of,
It's where you're at. Yeah.
It's where we're at. And
Yep,
it's,
yep.
The less time we're spending traveling, the more time we're, working.
Exactly.
And doing the research. So, and we're familiar with the area. We're familiar with the terrain. Joe's originally from Virginia. And I'm originally from North Carolina. So we're both very familiar with the terrain and how to move through the terrain and everything like that. There's so much in the Appalachian region that I think that it's got endless potential, there's things that we're learning every day. There's things that we're discovering every day, and stories and history and all this other stuff. In terms of a bucket list of somewhere else to go check out, I don't know. Going to the Olympic Peninsula would be really cool.
That's beautiful.
And it's just, I would love to check out a primordial forest, it's because that's basically what it looks like, is a primordial forest. That would be wonderful. That would be amazing. It would be so different from what I do here, that it would be a really nice challenge.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, the Hoh rainforest in the Olympic Peninsula, check that out. It's crazy, once you realize there's rainforest in that area, but it's the climate for sure. A question that people, I think, enjoy when I ask is, do you have a list of a favorite resource books you use for cryptozoology, or any that you recommend besides the we talked about the history of the Cherokee?
James Mooney's book is an absolute invaluable resource. That is probably one of my number one sources. Is anytime we're kind of talking about something or a region or anything, I have my copy. My copy is full of flags and sticky notes and everything. And my copy of that book is well loved because I use that. That's one of my first resources. When it comes, there's always there's the baseline reading that you do for everything. Everybody's read the same books and everything like that. And there's that reading list that everybody has to go through when they start doing this kind of research, and you start getting interested in cryptozoology or Sasquatch or anything like that. But in terms of source material, it's not in terms of books, not for the Appalachian region, and that's what my focus is, other than the history of the Cherokee. And that's the thing, is I do my own work. You know what I'm saying? I am a doer. I go out and do the thing. But I definitely recommend James Mooney's book. It's absolutely invaluable.
Perfect. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely put that in the show notes. And that is the first time that book has ever been recommended. So definitely will be checked out. Good stuff.
I will suggest.
Yeah, go ahead.
I will suggest Ron Moorhead's book, The Quantum Bigfoot.
Oh, okay.
Because
interesting.
I've really been going down this interdimensional Sasquatch rabbit hole lately, and really? I think it's absolutely fascinating. So I do suggest that book. It's an interesting read. Anytime Ron Moorhead is speaking, I make sure that if we can make it there, we try to go. We've seen him speak several times over the past couple of years.
Okay.
And he's such a fascinating individual. He's a true adventurer. And he knows what he's talking about. And he's got a lot of very interesting theories and a lot of very interesting concepts that he's introducing to the Sasquatch research field.
He's definitely on the list. I need to have a chat with him because you're right. He's got so many interesting ideas and also
He
Bigfoot
and
history. You
it
know.
seems like, you know, the older he gets more, like he just does not care. He's like, this,
Yeah.
he's like, this is what I think. If you don't like it, I don't care. I don't
Hmm.
care. He knows what he's seen. He knows what he's experienced. And he's very sincere. He's a very sincere, knowledgeable man. Like I said, he's a true adventurer. He's been all over the
Mm.
world. Um,
Yeah.
and like I said, he's a doer, and that's somebody that I really, really admire and look up to.
That's awesome. Yeah. Super, super cool dude from what I've heard.
Yeah.
It has been really fun chatting with you tonight. I can't, next year, I'm planning on being at CryptidCon. I know you guys were
Cool.
there last year, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I hope to meet you next year in person if things keep going the way that they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, CryptidCon looks like a super, super fun time. Do you mind going through real quick if people are new to Hellbent Holler? What are the easiest ways that someone can keep up to date with what you guys are up to and all that good stuff?
So I update my Instagram a lot. I'm very
Hmm.
active on Instagram. It's at Hellbent Jessi, Jessi, and I update that a lot. So my Instagram is mostly guns, knives, Sasquatch,
Yeah.
some of our research materials, some things that we're kind of working on. We're working on a long-term recording setup right
Oh,
now.
cool.
It's going to be, because we do a thing called drop recorders right now, where we take recorders and we hide them and drop them and leave them for hours, come back for them. So we're trying to work on a long-term recording situation with a backup battery and everything that's going to be more weatherproof. So we're working on building. We've gone through a couple iterations right now, so we're working on that. So I put up photos and things of that, like things that we're working on. I use the Psionics full color night vision camera. So I just set that up with a additional IR flashlight in a new configuration that I think is going to work better for more mobile evening, like night investigations using that. So I put stuff like that. It's a lot of gear, and we're very, very gear heavy people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very
so
interesting.
it's a lot of gear and stuff like that. My YouTube channel is Hellbent Holler. Everything is under Hellbent Holler that I do. But yeah, I'm hopefully getting out some more videos soon. We are constantly out in the woods and constantly doing this, but like with anything like this, things don't always happen. It's one question I get. It's like, when are you putting a new video out? And I was like, well, nothing's happened. So I can't,
Right.
you can't force it, you know? But I recently put out a video that was kind of interesting. There's did you watch my latest video?
I did. Yeah, it was good.
Okay. Where I stepped in a couple of piles on that one. So, but yeah, it's really weird. And it's, you know, but I'm self-taught when it comes to like editing and filming and everything like that. So I really enjoy everybody going on this journey with me and joining us on our excursions. And like, this has been probably the most important thing I've ever done with my life, is do this kind of work, and it makes me endlessly happy. So
that's
I
awesome.
really appreciate everybody who has really supported us and watches our videos and everything like that. So yeah, definitely check out my YouTube channel and let me know what you think about my videos and all of that.
And for Pete's sake, subscribe to the channel and like stuff. And for this one too, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to this one too. It doesn't cost a thing. But Jessi, like, this has been super fun. Thank you so much for coming.
You're gonna get a lot of comments about me coughing constantly, but I think everybody's coughing right now.
Oh, bring it on, people. Come on.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I try to mute my mic every time. I was like, oh my God.
You're good. You're good.
Yeah, it's with Christmas and everything. Everybody or everywhere is just like coughing and has the cold. So, but we're all gonna get over it, and we're all gonna get back in the woods.
That's for sure. All right. Thanks again, everyone, for listening, and have a great rest of your night.